Today I want to talk about 9 pieces for the piano that were absolutely essential for my development. This is by no means a comprehensive list of the 9 pieces you have to learn if you're starting out as a pianist. These are just 9 that I started out with that really were impactful for me. They start very beginner, and by the time we end this list, we won't quite be to like advanced, but it'll certainly be something that you'll have to put a lot of practice in before you're able to actually tackle. These pieces are all public domain, so I've thrown together a PDF. It's just got all of them in one easy place. There's a link in the description if you want to grab that. I'll explain more in a little bit. The first piece on our list is the Minuet in G by none other than not Bach. It's actually a guy named Christian Petzold. Everyone just thought it was by Bach for like a really long time, but it's not. And it sounds like this. It's funny, when I was a kid, I hated Bach. But one of the reasons why this is like such a common one to start with, it's one of the earliest pieces that you start to learn. It's a good introduction to Baroque music. Now, this piece in particular stays very, very surface level. It's very easy to play. But the thing about Baroque music that makes it incredible, but also it's one of the things that makes it the most difficult. Basically, it's a bunch of voices happening at once instead of a melody on top and like a chord underneath. It's characteristic of Baroque music that makes it identifiable and unique, but it also makes it kind of difficult to execute on the piano, especially when we get into more complex things. Now, this obviously was extremely surface level. This is a very basic piece, but it still has that quality that we see in a lot of Baroque music. This is now the week leading up to Black Friday. I can't even believe that it's already happening, but we are doing something absolutely insane. When I send you this PDF, you're also gonna be able to get the details for that. We're gonna talk more about it in a little bit, so let's do that later. The next piece we're gonna talk about is actually another Bach piece. Now, this is the only Bach we cover on this list because, yeah, it wasn't my favorite when I was growing up, but these two were a huge part of what got me really to understand a lot about both the way your fingers work and also an understanding of harmony and how compositions develop. So the next one is the Prelude number 1 in C major. It's from the Well-Tempered Clavier, and you will probably recognize this. Now, this is a tricky one because it seems really simple on the surface. I mean, the entire piece up until the very end is just that ascending arpeggio pattern. And while, yeah, I mean, there are some things that are simple about it, which is one of the reasons it's good for like when you're starting out, it's trickier than you think. It's almost because it is so repetitive in nature that it actually becomes harder in a weird way. And then there's also the phrasing too. I mean, Bach has like a traditional sound to it. It's amazing how we tend to really rag on music these days that's like repetitive, but look at this. Yes, the harmony goes to some really amazing places, but it does it utilizing this extremely repetitive pattern. Bach definitely knew what was up. Maybe a little more or less than this next guy. Eric Satie was a strange individual. I actually made a video about this a while back, but there is no denying that the Gymnopédie, I have no idea how to pronounce that, but the number 1 piece in that suite, it's iconic. You will absolutely recognize this. So moving on from Baroque, now we're getting into an area where we're starting to deal with like a lot of lyrical phrasing and a lot of pedal work, which can be tricky when you're starting out. But this piece does a couple of things. I mean, it's easy enough to tackle, but it has enough complexity if you really want to execute it well that it takes a lot of practice. Not so much practice that you'll get frustrated and you'll feel like, oh, I don't know how to do this, because that's what we want to avoid. We don't want to get you doing things that are like gonna just be a huge roadblock and just be totally overwhelming. This is not that. This is much easier to actually do, but it's trickier than you think it is on the surface. I had a tough time deciding where in the order to put this one, but of course, Beethoven's Für Elise has to be on this list. think when you're starting out and you get excited about your ability to play the instrument, and especially once you start figuring out scales and things like that, you want to play things so quickly. Fear Release gives you a great opportunity to do that, because while it is fairly easy, there are definitely some sections that you can really dig into and start. I think it's like one of the first ones that starts to feel more virtuosic. Like you can start to feel like I'm gonna play some serious piano here. And then when you get all the way up to the end and you have this like flamboyant finish, it's this thing that's like just really fun to play while being pretty easy to accomplish. This one might be a little more obscure for people, but Robert Schumann's Tremori. This piece, it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. And it is so simple, yet it still gives us some challenges when it comes to, like, especially when we're starting out. This starts to get into that very romantic kind of language where interpretation becomes pivotal. If you play just the notes on the page, you're gonna get the sound, but it really kind of comes to life when you start to let things push and pull and really feel the phrases of this piece. This is actually one of our first introductions to the concept of rubato. Kind of like, there's not really, the time can like push and pull. It's very flexible. It really comes down to the interpretation and the phrasing. That's what makes this piece stunningly beautiful. And that's where the challenge lies, is getting it to actually sing like that. Now we get to Mozart. And of course, this wouldn't be complete without the C major sonata, K545, specifically the first movement. And this, oh man, I remember learning this one, and it was, you want to talk about like having fun when you're a kid, when you're starting to learn the piano, you're really getting into like the mechanics of it, because this is just like, you can rip this thing. Once you start figuring out your fingers and really getting some speed up, this thing is so much fun to play. Trills in there, there's turns, there's all these different things that, like, when we're starting out learning the piano and getting our fingers to move quicker and quicker, these are like, this is the most fun you can have. And it's just, you know, it's Mozart. It's brilliantly composed, probably written when he was extremely young. One of the trickiest things about this piece is the Alberti bass pattern, which is a pattern in the left hand that involves playing the low note and then the high note and the middle note and then the high note again. And that's where we get in fact, this is one of the most famous examples of that bass pattern. If your fingers aren't used to that, that's tricky. You have to get your fingers used to that. And the only way to do that is through abundant repetition. Here's one that might be a little obscure for a lot of people, but it was one for me that was pivotal in a lot of ways. This is from Grieg. It's one of his lyric pieces, and it's called Notturno. Was pivotal in helping me understand one very specific thing, particularly with the 2/3 polyrhythm. It just made the whole thing click for me, because a huge part of the piece is this theme that uses a melody that is 2/3 in the bass, but you're like splitting it between the hands. You have to do it with both hands, and so therefore it was difficult to kind of think of it as like 2/3. It had to be different than that. So I started to think about it in just one single unit. I started thinking about the rhythm of the 2 against 3, not counting one over top of the other. Here's what I mean. Take the counting out of it and just hear the rhythm of my snaps, right? You didn't hear 2 against 3 right there. You heard da 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 da. Then if we accent the actual melody notes, da do da do da do da do da do da do. It sounds stupid and ridiculous, I know, but like this piece was absolutely pivotal in helping me understand how to feel polyrhythms, and now I kind of use that. Even with way more advanced stuff, I kind of just think like, what's the actual rhythm of what I'm hearing? Going back to Beethoven, we cannot cover this list without talking about the Moonlight Sonata. One of Beethoven's most famous pieces, of course, and it is a fantastic one to learn when you're starting out. Now this one is we're getting into a little bit more intermediate territory, so this certainly isn't like one of the early days that you want to work on this, but as you're getting more advanced and more comfortable, this is just an absolutely incredible piece. And again, this is one that's like, it's tricky in the way that it sneaks up on you. It's really more difficult than it seems on the surface, because on the surface, you have to learn all of the chord shapes and things like that, and that takes some time, but that's not really that hard to get under your fingers. What's really difficult about this piece is letting the melody sing in the way that it's really intended to, and there's a couple of reasons why. The thing that this piece is amazing for is learning how to split one hand between melody and harmony. When you are playing the melody, it is pretty much exclusively played with the 5th finger, but it's almost always paired with an octave, right? Here's the trick. That top note is the melody. It has to stand out. You have to almost weight that note differently than you're weighting the other part of your hand. It's like you have to literally take your hand, play 2 notes at the same time, but where one is kind of more pronounced than the other. That's a tricky thing to do. And finally, Debussy's Clair de Lune. Now this, I have made an entire video about this, which I will link to. This is a piece that is just, it's perfect. It's difficult, yes, but it's doable, it's accessible, it is complex, and it's beautiful. It gives you so many fun things to play once you learn how to do them, but it's not gonna take you years and years to master necessarily. It's something that with the right amount of practice and work, you can accomplish in a reasonable amount of time. This piece has been close to me for so much of my life. It's a piece that I've just played so many times, and for me, Debussy's one of my favorite composers of all time. When it comes to classical music, Debussy's not classical, it's Impressionism, but it's the general genre. Impressionism has always been my favorite era. Debussy and Ravel are 2 of my absolute favorites of all time, and this piece was the first Debussy that I learned. It speaks for itself, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it has so many incredible things as a pianist that are just incredibly satisfying to play. But no matter where you are in your piano journey, maybe you haven't even started yet, this stuff is all doable in not that much time. I mean, of course, it all depends on how much you practice. But if you want to get started, you have the biggest opportunity to do that coming up this week. It's the Black Friday sale. It's the craziest Black Friday sale we've ever done, and here's why. Not only is every single one of my courses in one convenient bundle for 99 bucks. That's like over 80% off. I think it's about a $700 value individually. But this Black Friday is functioning as like the pre-sale for Intro to Piano 2.0. It's the long-awaited updated version of Intro to Piano that's going to be coming out very soon. And when you grab this bundle, you're gonna get the current version of Intro to Piano as it is, but you will automatically be grandfathered in. You're gonna get Intro to Piano 2.0 automatically. You will not have to do anything. You'll simply log into your account one day and the new course will be in there, ready to go. We're working on it now. It's gonna be coming out soon. And of course, you can use the current version while you wait, but once 2.0 comes out, that single course is probably gonna be significantly more expensive than this entire bundle. So definitely take advantage of this year's Black Friday sale. It's coming up from Black Friday through Cyber Monday. When you download the PDF of all of the pieces we talked about in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and send you a reminder for that sale as well. You'll get a link straight to your inbox when it goes live. And this is how I support this channel. I don't take sponsors from companies that you don't care about and I don't care about either. Starting a few years ago, I decided that it would just make so much more sense if I built something that was useful. Coming up on Friday, so use that link, get the PDF from this video, and also get some information about that. And you know what? No matter what, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for your support. It really does mean a ton. Sometimes making videos like this, it can be really easy to slip into just this constant presenter mode. So, you know, sometimes it's just nice to take a break from that, just take a breather for a second and just tell you guys thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Whether you want to check out the Black Friday sale or not, I'm just thankful that you're here. So thanks so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.